how do I make this short and sweet? Okay, so let's start with Happy New Year. And I really wish you everything that you are wishing for yourself. So some changes will happen on my basically channel. So make sure that you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, then you see this like thing in the right kind of like corner, bottom corner, just click on it, because you'll be getting some series and some invitations that other people want to have an access to. They're not going to be posted like publicly. And you know, also, if you haven't already, join me on my mailing list. The link to it is my description, because that is specifically important for those of you who really want to take advantage of private readings, or who even want to take advantage of Reiki and all of these other add-ons that I actually send to my subscribers. And before we move right into the action, let me just ask you to support the channel. They're like already made, they're already out. There is $29.95, I believe, for one sign, and $59.95 for all. So you just have to go with www.cattarot.ca/annual, and basically the rest of it is history. It's going to be the order, and you get it from me as soon as I see it in my mailbox. I send that reading to you. So that really supports the channel, and this particular year I'm going to be helping lots of animals who actually cannot fend for themselves. I'm talking about all the strays all over the world that, you know, really need that really loving touch, and I really hope you can help me in actually pushing that forward. You know, maybe it is just a drop in the ocean. Who really cares about a kitten? Who knows where it is? Somewhere in Turkey, somewhere in Siberia. But you know, it matters to that pretty kitty that actually the life, the leg, whatever is needed, an eye is being saved. So without much further ado, let's jump into the reading and see what January brings for us, because this year brings lots of changes, and hence if you order your Taroscope, you're going to know all about it. So let's start, my dear friends, and see where January takes us. Hello Capricorn, and welcome to 2019. Happy New Year. My apologies for not getting this reading to you earlier. I had lots of things happening to me over the Christmas and New Year's, and now it looks like I'm coming down with a cold, so this is my excuse. Now, I maybe was waiting for the proper time with this new year and new switch in the energy, and in a new kind of like uplifting kind of thing with the energy of 3, which is the energy of confidence, yellow energy, energy of the sun, if you wish. Also, as I was preparing the table, kind of cleaning it and trying to see how do I sit it that the sun is not killing me, getting right into my eyes, because this is like a west end exposure, I kind of like pulled these 2 cards, and amazingly enough, I'm having the sun over here, and I'm having lotus flower. This is one of the oldest known decks. Keep in mind that tarot decks have been painted and used before as sort of like expression of royalty, expression of, you know, I have my own thing. They used to be used like as playing cards, and I think we are talking the 15th century, sort of like something late 15th century this was created. So we have the sun god, and also having another sun god, having a head of another one, kind of we see this victory. So it's the new day, it's the something that we need to work the whole day. This card to me is extremely positive. We really need to talk about something that is coming our way, because you also have the unfoldment card over here. Look, the lotus, like it's really raising up to the surface, right, during the daylight, and then it really comes down at night. So you're getting like these 2 magnificent really card, and I really feel almost like this is some kind of like hand of God, because we see that also here, like standing in this basically cloud, right? And this is not something that is like being stuck in the bottom. So I really feel that you guys are really coming to yourself. The sun card itself is extremely positive, so it is really talking about reaching out and seeking our own happiness, right? It's kind of like maybe you got fed up thinking about happiness. Maybe you really wanted to be happy and it just like was not happening for you. Maybe you were doing things that no longer please you, and there is like a new wave, a new time doing that, right? So I really think that you need to understand that in the tarot, it is the Sun's card that is traditionally associated with happiness. It is the happy card. It's the happy vitamin, right? And who really isn't happy to see this card? It is really associated with joy, with success, sort of like Jupiterian expansion, if you went. And Jupiter is like basically the planet of luck, right? Of the happiness, all things positive, right? So, but keep in mind that also all cards in tarot and oracle decks are a little bit ambiguous, right? They're like no straight answers, right? Because they always have that shadow side. Because look, he's kind of like holding himself from the sun coming to his basically face, just like I was holding myself from the sun coming to my eyes to be able to do that, right? So this is kind of like talking about this like cherub holding up the sun, which is kind of like shaped, I think this is God Apollo that we are really talking about here, right? And it is like really important to know this was basically a Greek god of form, of beauty, of reason, clarity, light, I mean, you name it, art, music. I just like really don't know what else it wasn't. At the bottom of the card, it's kind of like this, almost like looks like some kind of like huge drop. And you know, if you ever read philosophy in the Nietzsche's Birth of Tragedy, he kind of had this Apollo character, right? And he had a counterpart of Apollo, which was Dionysius, which was like the very chaotic, very irrational, very intoxicated god, and sort of like it was almost like void, right? So that was like sort of like almost like Apollonian light was like almost called shine, which shining we also have in English, but it is a German word which means both shining but also blinding. It is like very interesting when people just grab the cards and they forget everything that is around them, and this is exactly what has been happening over here, right? This is connecting to responsibility and some kind of like community affairs, right? So Sun card doesn't have to be always light, because we sometimes have the Moon card, and that's exactly what we have it here. The sun showed up and there is like this like way to follow, right? So you need to understand that this is really a time for you to activate. If you felt that, you know, you didn't have the right to certain things, right now it's going to start being really, not only that is going to start occurring, but it look like realistic that, you know, you have a right as an individual to be happy. You need to get it. And like, as if you can kind of like nailed this exclusive thing kind of like called happiness, it's even better. It almost looks like that some of you really got suppressed and you felt like, I mean, either as a failure or maybe even inadequate. So I really think it's going to be some kind of like, as they're calling this here, unfoldment, right? And this is kind of like going to be happening whether you're aware of that or not, right? Just like Lotus, like our soul is always reaching for the sun, right? In order to fulfill its karmic destiny. But even in that process, we kind of have those periods of darkness, right? And there are like times that we need to rest. So think about this elevation. Think that you kind of like need to face all these challenges and everything that is facing you, and it's like kind of like coming ahead, right? So I would really say here that if you try to force the happiness, right? This happiness doesn't refer to that, you know, transitory pleasure or feeling, you know. Some people, oh, you know, I just want to be happy, let me get like some booze and I'm going to be temporarily happy, and then you just go down. No, this is that quality happiness, right? You know what they say, that famous quote, one swallow doesn't make a summer. Well, neither does one day, because here we see sort of like that one day, it's a kind of a brief space of time that is making a man blessed and happy. And that's, I think, also the part of the quote, even though I probably didn't tell this like really properly. So this is really talking not only about the changes of fortune, but sort of like it's also connecting to moral conduct, to realization. And you guys are being interpreted in tarot with a card Devil. And Devil really does talk about these shadows where this light cannot come, and the moment when it comes, it kind of like releases that bad karma. You are being basically that house, number 10, that actually really needs to kind of like deal with that. There is nothing over here that is going to be, you're not going to be guided in a very much earthly kind of like pursuits like money and business. This is like truly what my heart wants, what is my desire, how do I become a good individual, right? It is like really talking about almost like what they call it, to go really sophisticated with enlightenment, right? So we are talking about disappearing as a card deck after the dark ages. And I know I'm spending lots of time over this because it is important. It is important because especially if you are in the northern hemisphere, we might be dealing with, you know, this winter season when many people get depressed, and this is really telling you, hey, do not look down, look up, and do not confuse the happiness with the pleasure in the moment. So don't reach for, you know, some kind of like easy to go alcohol, drugs that can kind of like really soothe the pain, because happiness is not an obligation, and it is like something that we actually really need to work on. Do not feel pressured into thinking that you must be doing this just because Kat said so, right? Do not think about it as an object. Like, this is not sort of like going on a list of things to do. This is like more or less about reconnecting with life. This is more or less reconnecting with this lotus flower. Lotus flower knows that it has to come to the surface. It is built in, and this is who you really are. That's what you really need to do it, right? Really look for happiness in everything that you do, not kind of like in isolation. So, you know, even the smallest things, look at how beautiful this card, look at how they made this rays kind of come through, and these rays are really, really important, right? And these thorns that are talking in the Bible are actually really rays, and the sun god Jesus is the sun card over here, right? So keep in mind that this is really important here to understand that, you know, there is like no need to feel unhappy and if you are not happy. So this is not exclusive, it's one or the other, which most people think it's like a switch, it can be on and off. You know, it doesn't work this way. And then you have this rune, which is like one of the better runes. It is called Rido. And did I lose this? Oh, hopefully I didn't. Rido is really talking about time and ride, right? And it's kind of like rotation of the heavens, just like what I see over here. Well, one sun god is down, one day is finished, let's kind of like start another day, sort of a thing, right? So it tells you that the journey is worth the effort. Guys, write down what you want. There's like this huge celestial switch happening on January the 6th, so just join it in, right? So if you feel that you have stalled or that you're not getting what you really wanted to get, that you're not moving in this direction, you know, it is very important that you win respect and admiration of the other people. And how do we do that? We do that by taking the high moral ground. And this is why you have been chosen with the card of Devil. It's not because you are horrible people and let's label you. No, because you are the ones who are supposed to kind of like bring the kings, get out of that dark, right? There are like few stages from that like Devil card, which is number 15. Then we are going into number 16, which is the Tower. And then you have like this crash and burn and turmoil where everything that we thought we know and we want to work and we kind of like want to experience a certain way is like kind of like falling apart. We need to start all over again to find something that is really more doable and workable, right? Then from the 16 we go to 17. That's the Star. That's kind of like being hopeful, being loving. And again, like you see how this kind of goes, and then you go down to the Moon, like wondering, hey, you know, am I too optimistic? Am I pushing it too forward? And then you get to the Sun, and everything seems to be bright. Everything seems to be kind of like an essence of good news. So if you're wondering about some kind of official or legal affairs, it's going to be highly beneficial. This really is not a rune of advice, and all of that is really signifying to me this like huge level of, you know, good judgment, huge level of looking for the right thing to do, a huge level of, look, I'm not going to feed myself with crap. I mean, when I said, you know, like, don't go for the easy kind of like mark, so hey, if the cookie makes you happy but you know you shouldn't be, just like don't do it. So it's not going to make you unhappy, it's going to kind of like help to push you forward, this where you need to be, kind of like finally let this light in. Okay, so let me shuffle the cards and let's kind of like start with the second part of this reading, and then it's going to be a third part, which is going to be really more or less for relationships and for people who want to be in relationships. I developed a completely new spread, so let's start one part by one part. So let's start with the second part first. There you go. I had to block the sun some more because it was just like, I mean, shining really brightly. And this really tells me that you'll be looking for solution. You'll be looking for the bright spot. You're going toward the right thing. So you have Ace of Cups over here. You have Ten of Sky, Ten of Swords, Four of Sea, Four of Cups, Sea King, the King of Cups, Five of Fire, Five of Wands, Consequences, or the Judgment, the Karma card, right? Ten of Fire, Ten of Wands reversed, and the Chariot, kind of like movement forward. So let's see. I mean, I didn't want to put the Celtic cross, but the card started to fall out, and I actually just really followed that thing. So it is really important to note that, look at this, look at the preponderance of wands, right? You know, like when they talk about the 1-1-1-1 phenomenon, and I don't know if you can see this beautiful card. I need to maybe cover a little bit more of this window so you can see it. It's lovely to be in the southwest window, but you know, if you kind of get in the situation the cards cannot be seen, it's not much fun. So the Ace of Sea is really talking about his potential, right? A Ten of Sky is talking about, oh my god, I'm losing my ninth life. Look at this poor kitty. Everything seems to be threatening here. I am stuck in the corner. I have lost my isle. My tail is broken, and oh no, the storm is coming, and you know, cats and water. It just cannot be like worse ending than it is. But this is like sort of like the card that is akin to rock bottom, right? And it really kind of like tells me that you need to be to some kind of like extent resuscitated, right? There are like issues over here that really bother you from the past, and maybe there was like something that you really wanted, that you wanted to make your mark, that you wanted somebody to be meaningful, or you wanted to be meaningful to someone, but maybe things really didn't work out. Maybe you ended up being betrayed, maybe you ended up being backstabbed, right? This is kind of like where we almost like feel, oh my gosh, I have given you everything and I didn't see this happening, and that's why you kind of like find yourself in this corner without ability to push yourself forward, right? So with all this once, it is really clear to me that there is like something almost like karmic happening, and that's why you have like this kind of like godlike things, like things are actually starting to speed up, and they're like really rather fast, because I do see here some emotional issues, some things that maybe kind of like left you either indifferent or, you know, were not able to really engage. It could have been somebody who, you know, who led you down the garden path where, you know, you believed this person, you really hope that everything that is being said is correct, but they were kind of like whispering to you the song that you loved, but the words of the song were lie. because this person was really saying things in order to serve their own basically purpose, not necessarily to do anything for you. And I really think this is like when, and you're not a stupid sign, like far from it, but you know, just like everybody else, you want your little kind of like corner of happiness. And this Ten of Sky tells me that you just like felt that betrayal really, really harshly, that it could have been possibly one of the worst possible things that happened. Some of you maybe went through divorce. Some of you maybe went through even, and I'm really sorry to say, physical abuse. I mean, no wonder you're getting the sun. Like you're leaving something behind that you didn't have it easy. And I don't know if this really took that extreme form of, and I'm really sorry if that's what it was, that you have been maybe even beaten and abused and assaulted. I mean, this can also mean really rape, and it can talk about some kind of like legal entanglement, and somehow you have made a deal with somebody, you were hopeful, but then all of a sudden it just like turned out none of it is as it appears. None of that is like something that you can or should trust. So, but it can be something as simple as kind of like living your life in disagreement with who you're supposed to be. Most of us do want to fit in. Most of us want to get along. Most of us want to be nice to other people, and hence that's the golden rule. We are really having a difficulty to comprehend why this doesn't apply in maybe situations that should be just like self-explanatory. When you're getting the consequences card, look at a kitty getting all tied up into stuff, you know, pursuing something and maybe wanting to go after the birdie, but like, I mean, things just got out of hand. And sometimes it happens, you know, I don't know if you remember this old black and white movie, Stanley and Ollie, right, where kind of like sometimes things just like went out of proportion. Like, I mean, I pushed you, you pushed me, and the next thing you know, like, I mean, it's just like everything is exploding, right? So when the consequences comes reversed, it really tells me that it felt, this is a karmic card, and this card is like so powerful. It really says that something that has been happening here is basically done for a reason. Maybe you need to learn something. Maybe you need to get out of the situation. Maybe this whole situation was not there for you to kind of like push this forward at the time. But I really did think the time is over. Here, all this gathering and strategizing and thinking about it, all the secrets, right? We're having this like 2 tens. You're ending one phase. Like, this is a 10, this is a 10, this is a 10. And when 10s show up in a reading, 10s are like, I mean, consisting of 1 and 0. So 1 is like generating this like new forward motion, just like in the A's that we have here. We have like 2 1s, we have 11. So this is kind of like leader of the leader. Is karma taking control of this basically chariot and saying, look, I'm guiding you here, and this is what you really need to learn. One of the harshest lessons is to learn to be on the receiving end of something that we call injustice, right? But comprehension of justice is really difficult. We kind of like do have some universal sense, but sometimes the things that happen for the best of reasons, right? So at the time when this is happening, you, of course, you don't feel this is right, and some people can never find kind of like understanding, hey, you know, I was supposed to learn something, because we want everything to happen nicely and comfortably, and you are an earth sign. Comfort is extremely important for you. So 10 of Fire, it's really telling like it's time to get off, right, the pot, right, and do something. This also can talk about, you know, springing into action. There is like this vitality. I really think you have been maybe underutilized, meaning you have not been as active as you were supposed to be. You were spending lots of energy on emotional level over here, and I really think that by actually look at that activation over here that is going to be happening in this month, it is kind of like one of those things. Okay, I did fall in the hole. I do feel I have suffered, but guess what? If I have to start all over again, I will. And this clearly tells me, because this card, when it's reversed, it actually really talks about the burdens are finally off. the heavy weight that we carry, and the older we get, more weight of that we carry, because it becomes almost like hoarding, that we are putting all these things in a different brackets, and we maybe really shouldn't be doing this. And then we are getting this Chariot, which is again this kind of like whole essence of, look, there are no reins over here, there's like a sheer power. And guess what, this, we are back to the energy of the sun over here. And it's, and I don't know if you can see it, there is also the lion over here, which is kind of like, yes, I have my own goals, I have my own aspirations, this is where I'm going, and nothing will stop me. If this means moving on solo, if this means moving forward just like by my own kind of like instincts, I have to do that. Because here, like, to back up a little bit, the lotus flower is saying something is automatic. We breathe, it's automatic. We don't really need to look for, oh, where is this push button for it and how do I go about it? If somebody that I met is making me stop breathing. No, this is kind of like going in a completely different way. So you need to kind of comprehend this. Okay, so let me clarify a few cards. Actually, 10 of Sky, and then already one card jumped out, and it is about reunion. Maybe some of you were hoping to be with someone. And look at the bottom of the deck is widower. Maybe there was like that some ending that kind of like resulted not only in the loss of mate, but also in the loss of ability to reconnect. The widower, it was upright, so that's in a sense a good news. So whether or not you have some breakup or something that has been really still kind of like resonating with you, sometimes we break up with somebody, but it is like 20 years later that we still feel it. And one of the examples is like if we have been cheated on, that is like a really difficult one to move forward to, right? And so basically it happens that we do have the strength, right? So he finally managed to put himself together to kind of like honor his wife. It says Alia Miyakara, so my dear, right? So it is like something that he's no longer like, I mean, spending time in pain, that he's actually really willing to be self-respectful, self-decent, and actually show his face to basically to the world. So this really tells me that, like, whatever it was, whether this is kind of like something that just happened or something that you're carrying on as a burden, and that burden could be like that self-talk, because the sun talks about also that self-esteem and happiness, as I said to you, but not a fake happiness, not, hey, look what I had for lunch, posting on a Facebook kind of a thing, right? So it was like something more substantial to get you out of that rut. And sometimes emotional kind of like drains are almost like contagious. You fall in that hole and you stay there. So 4 of C, I see the journey reversed. So something was nudging you, the karma was nudging you, you need to move forward, you need to move forward, and you were maybe pulled into yourself. Nothing was enthusing you. Maybe this kind of like shows depression or maybe even devastation over someone clearly showing up here who really took you for a ride. And I'm really, really sorry to see that. Like, this Sea King reversed is one of the worst kings, because with the other ones, they don't hide as much. This one literally is able to assume a position of a different person. It's kind of like, hey, you know, I love you, and you have the prettiest dimples. I want to have kids with you. I can't wait to see you again, and you never hear from them, right? It is because they're just existing in a moment. Do they think that in a moment it is possible? Do they know that this maybe a relationship with you is not possible? Yes, they do, but they still want to fulfill. You see, they're like that person who just like wants to be happy in that moment, and they pull everybody down with them. So these 2 cards reverse showed up to clarify that it says younger woman and messenger. I don't know, maybe you got a whiff of the third party. Maybe you got a whiff of, you know, I'm not good enough for this person, right? Maybe you were hoping to hear from this person and you haven't. And maybe you've seen something on social media that it just shocked you, that who the heck this person was. Maybe this kind of like ended up in a big argument. Let me check this one over here. 5 of Fire, and that's the tricky card. It can talk about positioning yourself and boundaries, but when it reverses, sort of like all bets are off. And look at this, we have the foe and lover reversed. Yes, it was probably one of those, not conversations, pretty much shouting matches. Who the hell is she? Who the heck is he? Because I can see that both sides, both genders could be going through that. You know, kind of like do it. Just you need to kind of like figure out who you want to be with. Because you realize also that maybe there's like somebody in the background who is pulling the strings there. Somebody maybe that you should know of, but you haven't been notified about it. So it is like really important to figure it out. So let me see about this consequences card, because that's the strongest card in your reading, as well as the Chariot, but this one is a karma card, so it's even stronger. And you're getting enemy and you are getting gifts. So as I said, you really hoped for something is in a bag, get is in a bag, and everything is done. But when the enemy fellow shows up, right, we have the foe over here, so you're getting pretty much the whole spectrum. Somebody took basically a smile from your face, and almost like that you are blaming on that more than anything else. Guess what? Happiness is inside job. Nobody can take that away from you if you do not let them. And that realization is going to be really powerful realization for you this month to be able to truly move forward. So let me see that Chariot. Give me like a little bit about this Chariot. And we are talking about faithfulness. There is like this, well, we have another doggy and cats. Like things can actually work out for you in one way or the other. I think you're really looking for something else, because the Chariot tends to be single. The Chariot tends to be I don't care anymore, and just being even able to say I don't care is powerful beyond actually anything else. So it is really important to honor yourself and kind of like allow yourself to go in this direction. This is a powerful reading, because you're literally cleaning your spirituality, you're cleaning your attitude toward happiness, you're cleaning how you perceive things, you're cleaning understanding toward people. You're almost like you had a set feeling about someone, and somebody made so many promises, and you were trying to spin your wheels to catch up with it, thinking you can do more, you have to be better, you have to jump higher to please this person, right? The point was, it didn't please you, and you have forgotten about yourself in the process. And that is really, really important. So guys, you know that I do want to get to know you, and the only way is that you actually stop by and say hi, say where you're from, say how this really relates to you. It would mean a world to me. So the next basically stage is going to be just looking in relationships only. So let's look at that part. Alright Capricorn, so let's start with basically this new spread that I designed for this reading. It covers everybody. I mean, if you want relationship, if you want to see, hey, this is the perspective or prospective this month, and if you're watching like because you already are in a relationship, and maybe you know every relationship goes through these waves up and down, kind of like to see which kind of like phase you're in. So sort of like this is going to kind of help you. So let's start. Capricorn, January 2019. Capricorn, January 2019. Everything is falling apart. What's going on here? I'm not even sure. I think I just dropped the cards. Capricorn 2019. Okay, so January 2019 for Capricorn. So this spread is basically having it's really interesting. It's really interesting giving the rest of it. You really need to reach above something. See, this would be one person, this would be other person. Doesn't matter which one you really want to be, you have to figure out which one belongs to you. So this looks like there is a person who's going through severe doubt or severe questioning of who I am, where am I going, why am I getting there, so what's going on. The Three of Swords can talk about a third party. It can talk about somebody really kind of like doing certain things to you that feels harsh. Well, the other party is sitting pretty, right? So it seems to be like discrepancy over here. So let's see if you're choosing to be with this person, so that's going to be something in between, or just on your own, what basically is the best way, or basically, you know, how to move this forward. So it's going to, we're going to go through some clarifications as well, and sort of like the general universal meaning over here. So let's start. Let me zoom this out so you can see the entire thingy. Okay, so let's go. First of all, let's say without a partner, what's going on. So look, those people without the partner, they're kind of getting ready. This is a really important card, right? This is kind of earthy tone. It looks like you really need a place to fall. You need a friend. You need somebody who kind of like sees you as a more kind of like organic way. I think you're getting really tired feeling that, you know, just don't look at me for my body or what I can do for you. It's kind of like this is really more. This is kind of like reaching maturity. Even though I think you're really dreaming about this mature partner, because King of Pentacles would be your perfect mate, right? Whether you're male or female. There's like somebody you feel, hey, you know, I'll be protected, I'll be cared for. So there is like some inclination that even in your singlehood, you're actually kind of like heading in that direction. But it could be that singles could be feeling a little bit displaced. Maybe some of you are feeling, hey, you know, I'm being left out in the cold. I have to deal with that. Look at this, earth, earth, earth. So you're like definitely in your element. That's not a big surprise, given that, hey, hello, this is your birthday. So it's all kind of like working okay. So let's see the partner, that person that you might be actually wanting to know where they are at. So especially for cross watchers, you're having Four of Cups reversed. Well, really interesting, because this person needs to figure out what they want. They kind of like are dissatisfied. This is a little bit, I'm picking up on self-oriented behavior, because here like there are so many things offered, and even the special thing is offered, and then even that is rejected because this person is not even able to see it. Well, this is now reversing. So really this person is so self-reliant that they kind of like are having a difficult time entering that emotional zone, right, where they feel this. What else do we have here? Wow, but they are really looking for their queen. Honestly, if you're dealing with, let's say, if you're cross-watching, then that kind of like would be probably a partner. This partner is really looking for somebody special. So hence, everything else that doesn't measure up kind of like has to go. Is it realistic? It's not realistic. Hard for me to tell. But look, they're really looking for somebody who is going to treat them like the king. Somebody who they're going to put on a pedestal. Almost like to some extent it is unrealistic, right? It's almost like reaching for a dream. But then this is like talking about karma. It's talking about victory. It's talking about the feeling that they feel they need to persist, right? They feel they need to go on, because this partner actually is really willing to settle down. It's really willing to kind of like continue down this path. So it's kind of really interesting. So if this is like something you maybe want, your Capricorn, you want to kind of like hook up with this partner, then you need to deal with this kind of like, hey, are we even on the same vibration? How do we really move forward? So let's see what seems to be happening in the middle. Now we have Wheel of Fortune. This is yet another karma card, and this really is nothing that can be predicted. This really talks about big changes are happening. This really talks about, look at the solid signs, and now we can see all of them are having a book. there is like certain knowledge that has to be reached. And I don't know if you notice, only Aquarian has a yellow book. Everybody else has a white book, because Aquarian here needs to kind of like also reach their confidence level. It's kind of like a gut feeling. But this definitely talks about a new cycle. It talks about going in this kind of like special, like especially for those of you singles. I really think that you'll be shedding some lingering doubt or lingering thoughts that might still be upsetting, because look, I don't like this. I don't like this 3 of Swords and the 9 of Swords and the Ace of Swords, right? Look at the 2 of them. Hey, this is a party, right? Like, let's party in the Capricorn house. So there's like still some kind of like essence of some of you going forward, going backward. It's almost like you're afraid to move forward in some kind of direction. But this is like clearly telling you some kind of advice. Look at this Merchant scale. Maybe you need to, you're in a position to give, clearly. And I really think this is the partner that has to give it to you, because, right, this is kind of like going both ways. There is like something that happened. Maybe they feel they hurt you in the past, they let you down, and they really don't want a repeat of that. So they would love to basically accept this energy to come their way, but at the same time they're really afraid. So keep in mind that they have kind of like that woman or a partner on a pedestal. It's just like the sun. The sun, remember how we had it, and something that is like a matter of time, because this Wheel of Fortune is also a matter of time. And here we had that like unfoldment. It is really interesting that, you know, you will need to redefine who you are. And this is exactly what I started with. Look, you are not supposed to be with this partner because, hey, notice me. You're supposed to fulfill who you are. Go, and not to kind of really kind of like put that arrow, you know, in their heart and now like they're like all yours. No, this is more or less kind of like really figuring out your own sea legs, what you really need, because it looks like there was like a crash with some kind of situation. Look at it, but it's going from Five of Pentacles, which sometimes to me signifies that there are like multiple people in this relationship, and it does happen sometimes when men overpromise, but King of Pentacles didn't come reversed. So it could be somebody who is marriage minded, but not necessarily that he wanted to marry you or be serious with you. You know how sometimes people say, no, I'll never marry, blah blah blah, and the next thing you know, like in 2 weeks they meet somebody, they're married. Remember George Clooney? That's kind of like a story happens when they meet that Empress. So it's kind of like really interesting. So let me see the universal meaning over here. Wow, 7, 7, and 7. So of fire. Look at them. Like, this is like about fantasy. This is like about who and what they want. And again, it's really talking about, look, you kind of like need to see what they're seeing. It's kind of like really sometimes futile to kind of like say, hey, pick me, you know, like a little child in a classroom raising a hand and saying, just kind of pick me, right? Like, and this is literally kind of like this offer that is being shown over here. Maybe some of you are offering so many things, and I see that very often when I coach women, that we try to wrap ourselves around the men, not because we are stupid, we are just nice and kind, and we want to give them basically that warmth and everything. But I really think, especially if you're a woman, that this is you who need warmth. And also, you need some kind of like self-understanding. And I can see that over here. There is like this essence of getting a closure. See, 7 of Swords upright, I absolutely hate this card. But when it reverses is actually really clarity, where you're not going through these sleepless nights and wondering, where is he, where is she, what's going on, is she with somebody else? Because it could have been a third party over here. They are chasing somebody else and you're wondering, hey, you know, you can have a good life with me. But the truth is, like, the clarity here, it is, if it's not happening, it's not happening for a reason. Look at those 7s coming out and telling you, spiritually, there was like something that needs to be learned. Kind of like, what can you take out of it and move forward, and what you need to leave behind. This person here is reviewing his labor. Look, he is a little bit tired and he's looking at everything that is happening. Did you ever try to plant tomatoes, I don't know, and then you were hoping you're going to have a plentiful and bounty of those tomatoes in the summer, and then you're getting this sad little tomato, like, I mean, showing up somewhere in basically September. Like, you don't even want to eat it because, you know, it's like so sad. Like, he spends so much time doing it. And this is kind of how he feels. He said, well, actually, I really didn't want a shrub. I wanted a big tree. A shrub it is. And you are where you are. And that's sometimes what it happens. No need upsetting it. Sure, do we feel like that we are not getting what we want? Yeah. But staying in this situation really means not opening up to the new opportunity, because remember, guys, the sun will shine again. Tomorrow is another day. Remember, for those of you who are as old as me who watched Gone with the Wind, this unfoldment means you need to open up. You need to open up to something else, to something new. You need to find the happiness inside of you and not necessarily wait for the others to give it to you. So does it mean moving towards somebody else? Because this fellow can actually mean that. For either or can actually mean there's like somebody else in play. But looks like this party will be more realistic and going to say, hey, I'm going to find somebody who kind of like has similar interests to me, with me, and with whom I can maybe learn something, reach some kind of like wisdom. You might be kind of like hanging around the earthy kind of like sense, pottery classes, stuff like that, or simply with earth signs who kind of like get you. And guys, this is actually a very optimistic reading. You're getting this kind of like lots of luck, the sun moving forward. It's a new phase. You'll be going back and forth, shifting, but overall there's going to be movement forward. Right? So singletons, I would the most basically advise you that you don't stay stuck into this wisdom mode, which is really good to kind of like come to your senses, right? Because now you can actually really see, even kind of like chasing after this person, it would just get you again over. It will get you back in the friend zone, kind of. That's not where you want it. So think about that. You're getting 3 sevens. 3 sevens are 21, and 21 in tarot is the world card. World always talks about you mean a world to me, but guess what? There are like so many other worlds that I need to conquer, and I have to move, keep going forward. So this is very, very important. So I really hope that you kind of take this advice and maybe come back and forth a few times here during the month to look at it. Your comments would be great as well, because I really want to know where did you kind of like fit in here, and also if you like this new spread. Thank you guys very much. Again, happy birthday, and I'm so looking forward to reading your comments, to hearing from you, and I'm looking forward to actually, you know, contacting with you via my Facebook and Instagram. And if you guys want to kind of go more in details and find out more month to month, kind of order my annual tarot scopes. Thank you so much. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe, because as I said, some of the series with time will be only done for the subscribers. Love you guys, and all the best.